Welcome back to the show. This episode is brought to you by Beacon IML Systems. We help immigration law firms and other law firms grow with AI-powered intake, faster response systems, and performance-driven marketing that converts inquiries into signed consultations without adding staff or creating operational strain. Today's conversation is part of our ongoing effort to surface real-world insights from attorneys and practitioners building firms and companies in one of the most complex business environments there is. Today's guest is David B. Arrata. David established Lexicon Legal Content in 2012 after identifying a significant market need. Law firms and marketing agencies struggle to consistently source high-quality written content at scale. As a 2009 graduate of St. Louis University School of Law, David combines legal expertise with content strategy to deliver exceptional results for his clients. Prior to his legal marketing career, David cultivated his creative talents as a professional freelance cellist in the greater St. Louis area, bringing a unique artistic perspective to legal content development. This multidisciplinary background allows him to approach legal writing with both precision and creativity. David currently resides in Breckenridge, Colorado, where he leads Lexicon alongside his wife and business partner, Erin. Together with their two dogs, Scout and Sadie, they enjoy the beautiful mountain landscape while building a company that has become a trusted resource in legal content creation. Welcome to the show, David.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, you live in a beautiful place. We'll start. Places that we like to go every summer as a family. Make the drive from Texas.
Yeah.
Get out of this heat. It's a wonderful, wonderful state. I think it's the only other state that I would actually like to live in outside of Texas.
Is that right? I'll tell you what, I do love the summers up here. People think of it as a winter destination, but we similarly started coming here in the summers when Aaron and I were living in St. Louis, and I hate the heat. So we'd start renting a place for like a month at a time. And eventually after the third summer, we were like, why are we leaving? We love it so much. So we've been here 8 years now.
Oh, man, that's fantastic. So David, what originally drew you into the legal content field? David, what originally drew you into the legal content field?
So as it is the case for a lot of entrepreneurs, I kind of fell into it. So I graduated from law school. I was studying for the bar. I needed extra money, and I started writing content for a small agency in St. Louis that no longer exists. And my content that I wrote actually started ranking really, really well right away. And I thought to myself, hey, maybe there's a future in this. And I started thinking about it more and more. And at the time, this is 2009, at the time, content marketing was really in its infancy. And there wasn't a trusted source for agencies to go get specialized content for the law firm clients. So I saw a market opportunity and I took it. And I think it's been a better fit than the practice of law would have been for me.
So you went straight from law school, you fell into this, and you just went all in. That's wonderful.
Never practiced.
And you, was your wife in the business with you from the very beginning?
No. So as these things go, like I started doing it for extra money, and then I started doing it for like some legitimate money. And then Erin decided that she wanted to go to law school.
Okay.
Between 2010 and 2013, when she was in law school, I was growing the business. I was freelancing with a lot of law firms, formed the agency, started making partnerships with bigger marketing agencies. And by the time she graduated, we were in a position where she decided to join up with me rather than go practice law.
Gotcha. Is there anything that you underestimated starting a business like this at the beginning?
Yeah, I underestimated, absolutely. I underestimated the amount of administrative work. You know, I came from a background, as you mentioned in the intro, of a musician. Then I went to law school. So I never had any corporate experience. And what I underestimated was the amount of like admin work that was involved in running a business. Like in my head, it was just like create the content, send it to the client. If they're happy, collect money. But it's the whole thing of marketing the business and the back end stuff, the taxes and the accounting and et cetera, that there's a transition from freelancer to business owner that has a lot of pain points involved.
Right. At what point did you realize it was going to be maybe just more than that small firm that you started with, that you were going to get to the next level?
We had some very good partnerships very early on. We hitched our wagon to the right horse, so to speak. So some of our agency partners grew very, very fast. And that's when I realized that there was really a nationwide scope of this business. It didn't have to be local. It didn't have to be the law firm down the street that we were creating content for, that we could work with, $10 million, $100 million companies that needed content support or did not have in-house content departments.
Gotcha. So from your perspective, since you've been in business since 2009, what's gotten more difficult, more challenging about the content business, specifically the legal content business over these last few years?
It is like literally unrecognizable to how it was in 2009. AI clearly has been extraordinarily disruptive. And I would say that that's been the biggest challenge that we've experienced in our business growth. Up until 2020, 2000 ChatGPT, December. I still remember the day I played with it for the first time. There were trends. There were content trends. We went from doing short form content, 500 word blogs, to long form content, 2,000 word pieces of content, blogs or pages. Things changed, like keyword placement changed and formatting changed and best practices for linking changed. Keyword stuffing was a thing, for example, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Now it's not. Those trends were difficult to keep up with, but it was just kind of like you're riding the wave of the industry. AI changed everything overnight. Overnight, people thought that the cost of content creation had gone to zero. It clearly hadn't. The job that we do is different. We used to want to source, we used to need to source quality writing staff that wouldn't misspell words or drop commas or use poor grammar. Now that's the table stakes. That part's easy to get. What's hard is to make truly great content that stands out from a sea of AI slop, right? Because anyone can go to Claude or Perplexity or ChatGPT or Gemini and say, give me 1,000 words about what you should do after a car accident. Good luck getting that to rank because it's been created 50,000 times in the past 10 years, right? And now AI is just taking that information and regurgitating it and adding nothing new to the conversation. And Google's not going to even index it likely.
How do you get around that challenge without revealing any of your secret sauce?
Well, I mean, I'm happy to reveal the secret sauce, and I think it's publicly available knowledge, to be honest with you. So, and it just requires work, and like it requires time and effort. So it's clear that Google is surfacing content that is adding something new to the conversation. So you need to do things like synthesize new data from existing sources. Something as simple as looking at statistics from one year to the next year and doing some simple math and saying this statistic changed by X%. Another way to get content to rank these days is to add signals of experience, expertise, authority, and trust, EEAT in the SEO parlance. With our law firm clients, that often involves highlighting professional achievements, case results, if your jurisdiction allows it, educational achievements, even for lawyers, because it's a pretty academic field. Anything that signals to the search engines and to the LLMs that this is a real person with real experience. And also, like, we talk about things in content now to flag locality. So let me use St. Louis for an example, because that's where I grew up. So it's one thing to mention the Arch or the Cardinals, right? The two things in St. Louis that make the world go round. But like for an injury attorney, we might mention Barnes Jewish Hospital, or we might mention the busiest intersection, or how Highway 40 is a mess after 4 p.m. going west. Things like that, like things that only a true local will know. In order to change, like to have it distinguished from the tsunami, I should say, of AI generated content that's just by design, by the way, generic. Surely by design. Like the LLMs are created in a way in that they are generating content that is, again, by design, generic and smooth and regurgitating the information available to them.
Very much makes sense. So you've got a unique perspective. You went to law school. You work with attorneys across the board in different fields. What do you see law firms struggling with right now the most? Is it legally, operationally, content marketing, automation? Where do you see the struggles as it relates to your business?
I can't speak to like the practice side of stuff. So, I'm not under the hood there. But in the marketing departments, what they're struggling with, I think, is clearly capacity and ensuring that the content they're putting out there is compliant with the advertising rules that apply to lawyers and legally accurate. So I think like, okay, a lot of law firms have marketing directors who are not attorneys. So they own the problem of marketing and they do marketing, but you can't get your associates or your partners to write blog content or make video content, right? They should be out there either getting new clients or practicing law. If you're billing your associate out at $400 an hour, you don't want him to sit down and write a blog, but you also don't want to give it to your marketing director that doesn't have a law degree. So unless you're outsourcing it to a full service agency, who, by the way, often white label our services, You need to find a solution of someone who understands the legal aspect of content marketing. Sorry, the law as it relates to content marketing to make sure it's accurate, but also what you can and cannot say as a law firm or as an attorney marketing yourself. So it's really capacity and also sourcing people with the necessary skill set to create that content.
What do these prospective clients maybe misunderstand before they call you?
It's a good question. I think often they misunderstand how far AI can take them on their own, right? I think I see a lot of lawyers that, especially the smaller firms who may not have the budget to hire a big agency. They're like, okay, we know we need to, in order to compete in our market, we know we need to create content, whether it's video content or blog content or press releases or third-party guest posts. They know that they need to create content to be competitive in their space. And initially they think, I'm just going to go to ChatGPT and use it to pump out blog content. And I'm checking this box and it's going to work. And it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding as to what actually allows content to rank well these days in the environment when we're in, where the cost of creating shitty, boring content is in fact close to zero, right?
Makes sense. What is, if you don't mind sharing with us, what is your intake process from like, just like attorneys have their intake process and
Oh,
somebody
wow. Yeah, absolutely. This is so important.
says yours, it would be really interesting for the audience.
Let me back up and explain that for the majority of our business history, I'd say for the first 10 years, we were mostly white label service to other agencies. Agencies who had the relationship with the law firm would come to us and say, we need you to service our content, service our clients' content. So we didn't have to develop a robust intake until very recently in our business history. So I love this question because I think it's so important. And I don't think that I and other leadership at Lexicon understood the importance of a smooth intake process. We had a situation where, like, we've got a good sales department. We've had a situation where we've had clients go all the way through the sales process, sign the contract, and then we'd lose engagement. And I was like, what's going on here? What's it like? We have closed this deal. How are you losing engagement after we send our first invoice? Is because our intake sucked. And I spoke to our intake sucked because we weren't working that much directly with law firms. And now we're really expanding into that area. So we're more consumer facing than business to business to business. We're now getting into the B2B space, but the law firm ultimately is we have to treat them like a customer, like a consumer. I recently was talking to an agency consultant who said, roll out the red carpet. He's like, this is what's happening to you. The reason you're losing engagement is because you're not rolling out the red carpet. So we have created in the past few months, we've created a robust onboarding process that I'd love to take you through. So once we sign the deal, they automatically A, get an invoice for the first month of service. B, they receive automatically on our client platform an intake form that is very detailed, asking them about their practice areas, their competitors, their geographic market, what kind of cases they want, what kind of cases they don't want, et cetera. Do you want to use your picture in your blog content, et cetera? Very robust, detailed intake form. Once that intake form is submitted, we use their responses through AI to create a set of blog topics or practice area page topics to review with them on, this is the part I think we were really missing, the intake call, where we go over this together. I get on it personally as the owner of the company. So sales passes it off to me and our operations manager. And then we do a 1 hour interview where we go through that intake form, we get to know the client. I get to know the client personally. I let them know that I'm always available to answer their questions and work with them. And we talk through workflow. We send them an onboarding packet during that call. It's a glossy PDF that explains who we are, how to get a hold of us, who their point of contact is, et cetera. And that has changed the engagement. It is 180 on the engagement. The fact that we would lose customers after signing a contract blew my mind. But I realized what was happening. Often a person in an organization would be tasked with find a content marketing solution. They would sign the contract, and in their mind, their job is done. That task is over. So we have to, as on the agency side, you have to like almost pull the client along after the sale is made. Part of that too is sending that invoice immediately, right? Because then they have buy-in, truly buy-in. They've invested in your service. So they're not going to let the relationship fizzle. They're not going to not talk to you for 4 weeks. They're thinking, I just paid this guy $3,000. We need to work together. We need to get this thing going. So we have fixed, so intake is huge. It's a huge thing. And I didn't even realize it till 2 quarters ago.
Wow, that's great. Sort of leads into this next question, which is where does your team feel the most pressure day to day?
Oh man.
Whether there's a good outcome or bad outcome to it, where's that pressure for you and your team?
We're dealing with it right now. Actually, like I was on a meeting right before this where we were talking about this. It's truly scope creep. I often make a joke that I wish I was selling coffee mugs because they're either broken or not, right? And we're selling content, which is so subjective. It is such a subjective thing. Is this good? Is this bad? I mean, we want to position. You don't go to the doctor and tell the doctor what you think, right? So we're trying to position ourselves in a place where we're the authorities. We know what's good, but especially with our agency clients, there's some redundancy in ownership of tasks, if that makes sense, or ownership of content quality. So they come to us as a vendor, but then the agency often has someone who's in a role of content coordinator or content manager, or, the different names for this position. And what we've been dealing with, and a big pain point has been who is ultimately responsible for the style guide. Obviously, with our agencies, they're the ones paying us. We're fulfilling their orders, but there has to be, okay, let me back up. There is scope creep is almost inevitable. Like, let's say the style guide starts off at 2 pages, and then the content manager over there says, over at the agency, I should say, is like, by the way, let's make all of our FAQs title case, not sentence case. Or let's use attorney 1/3 more often than we use lawyer. Or let's not use bullets, let's use check marks. Like little stuff like this, right? And if you're dealing with that relationship, eventually you're going to end up with a 700-page style guide, which A, no one's going to read, B, is impossible to comply with. So right now, what we've been struggling with, and a big pain point for us has been, and scope creep might be the wrong word because the scope of the project isn't changing. It's that the metrics by which the deliverable is judged is changing regularly. So we have to really nip that in the bud as soon as possible and say, look, this is our agreement. This is how you might have personal preferences, and that's on you to do. Now, we want to be accommodating. That being said, we can't be in a situation where it takes us 2 hours to service one piece of content because of an overly detailed style guide.
Gotcha. So, what are the things that are really hard for you to standardize? And two-part question.
Sure.
What decisions still require you as the leader of the company, still require you personally that probably shouldn't?
Sure. Right now, and I have to, we're a small team. We're a small team. There are 5 full-time employees at the company, 30 contractors. This is our structure. We're growing pretty quickly. And right now, I am hiring for people that are not reporting directly to me because staff doesn't have time to hire. Like our lead account manager doesn't have time. She's so busy with managing accounts that she doesn't have time to vet and hire. But ultimately, if someone's not reporting to me, like it should not be my hire. Maybe I can make a short list of candidates, right? But like the interview process should be involve the person to whom the hire will ultimately be reporting. So that's one thing. And also we're small, like I said. There are nights where I got to roll up my sleeves and get in there and like start editing the content, right? Like if something falls apart and you just do not have the personnel and like the deadline is tomorrow and you need to make the deliverable, like there are things that I have to do that I likely shouldn't be doing, but I think that's true for every business owner, right? Like you got Sam Walton working as registers. Like if that's happening, then I don't feel bad about pulling some late nights now and then.
Right. So even as a business owner who cares deeply, I can tell about customer service and results. What do you think your clients complain about the most, even when the work is strong and the deliverables are strong?
That is a good question. I think, and this is something we've been working on, I think, so our responsiveness is very good. I don't think it's clear to some of our clients, and this is a structural problem with our business that I need to fix. I'm not sure our clients always know who their point of contact is at our company. And I actually have been dealing with this with one of our professional services firms that I'm a customer of. I'm like, who do I contact? I don't want to name names, but like, I have an issue. Who do I contact? Is it this guy, this guy, this guy? And I think that we could streamline this. And I mentioned our intake process that sales passes it off to me and operations, and then operations passes it off to an account manager. And I'm not sure if that is the best way to do it because there have been so many points of contact for the customer in the onboarding process that it may not be clear to them who their contact is at any given moment.
Gotcha. If you were a prospect or a client that just started that was calling your firm today, what part of the experience you think would surprise them? Good, bad?
Well, that's a good question.
What would surprise them?
I think it is, and I'm going to say it, and I feel kind of guilty about saying it. I've had many clients be surprised that I get involved in the process at all. I think that we look a lot bigger than we are through our website and through my presence in legal trade publications. I think people assume that we are a 100-person company, and we're not. So I think people are often surprised positively that I'm sometimes on the first sales call even.
Makes sense. So in the age of AI, the age of automation, 1 to 3 years from now, wanting to produce the quality work that you produce now, what does working less but growing better look like to you? Is there such a reality?
I think there is. I think there is. And it's kind of this reductionist, absurdist argument, right? Like, especially in the content space. As the LLMs get better, the content gets better. And people are always saying, well, this is it. It's going to be fully automated. But in our space, the game is ranking content. So it's always going to be like that extra step. Like, I don't care how good the LLMs get for the foreseeable future. It's that extra step of involvement from the human being that gets the content to rank. I'm being roundabout in answering your question. So I don't see a place where there's human involvement is removed. Working less and growing more, I think, is more and more automation.
Okay.
We're working on this now, and it's something that is not my. It's not really. I'm not a technical person, and it's not in my background. So we're working with a developer, but we run on Airtable is our project management system. And the stuff that you can automate is with N8N, which is relatively new to me, is blowing my mind. Like, let me give you an example of workflow that I think is living in 2015. So writer emails us Word document, account manager finds Word document, edits Word document, puts it in a Trello card for final review, gets greenlit, then we send it to the client. All of those steps of moving the file from one place to the other are easily automatable these days through AI. And that's something that like will make us much more efficient and allow us to create better content more quickly. Now, in terms of growth, we haven't applied it to this yet. I want to take those same principles and apply them to our sales cycle.
What kind of firm do you not want to accidentally build?
That's an interesting question. First of all, I don't want to get into the full service digital marketing for strategic reasons. So that's an easy question. Because so we're in content, right? And law firms will come to us and say, hey, we want to do 8 pieces of content a month targeting car accidents in Houston. Sounds good. And then 6 months later, like, hey, we're getting some really good results out of this. Can you redo our website? Can you do full service SEO? Can you build us some backlinks, et cetera? And the minute we start doing that is the minute we start competing with our biggest clients, who are the full service SEO. So that is answer number one. Answer number two is I don't want to grow so big where we've lost the human touch with our clients. Like, it's very important for me to know our clients and know what they want and be able to service them with a bespoke solution, not just some package. Here you go. And, not really dig into who they are as a firm. Because I think the content marketing part of this is so personal to a firm's culture. It's not one size fits all. Are you a family firm? Are your your founding partners, are they brothers? Is it a 4th generation family firm? Do you have deep roots in the community? Right? This isn't Costco where every big box is the same.
Makes sense. Well, let's really take a few minutes to kind of close this out.
Sure.
This has been incredibly insightful. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you, David. Wanted to, if when someone finishes working with you, maybe they've completed a 6 month or 1 year or maybe 3 years, or maybe they're still working with you, but they've been with you for a while. What do you want them to say about you, your team, and your company to their friends and loved ones?
I love that question. Want them?
And more importantly, how do you want them to feel? Because that's what's going to make them recommend you or talk about you to their friends and family.
Truly, and this is going to sound maybe a bit corny, but it's true. I really want them to feel seen by our organization, like their needs and their goals and what they want to do and how they want to achieve them. And what I want them to say about us is that we were attentive and responsive and delivered good work product. And if the work product wasn't good, we fixed it right away. That's what I've always said. Like, again, these aren't coffee mugs. It's not broken or not. It's not binary. So if we deliver something you don't like, tell us right away and we'll fix it, rather than sit there and say, I'm not sure if I like this content. I'm not sure if I like this provider. Let's look at other options. Let us know. Let's be open. We're not going to be offended if you don't like what we delivered. We want the feedback.
Wonderful. Well, David, thank you. I think we'll end the recording there. Really appreciate your time. Wonderful insights you gave us.
Thanks. I really appreciate you having me. I hope this, I know you were a little hesitant. I hope this fit your target audience.
Absolutely. You gave us a very unique perspective, and I know going in. So, as soon as I spoke to you last time, I was able to envision how just different, different little pieces of our conversation could be very valuable to my audience.